Hey everybody, welcome on back to the channel, and today hopefully this is going to be the finale of the 38 special. Reassembly and about 100 other little things to do. Now if you haven't caught the rest of this series, hit the button up here somewhere, one of these corners. There's a link to our full playlist for this 1938 Plymouth P6. It has been mechanically restored or gone through, previously converted over to 12 volts. The engine's been gone through, driveline, tires, brakes, fuel system, and it showed up to me to put some lipstick on a pig or a prom dress on a pony. It is, well, you can see in paint now and still in many pieces, there's still a lot left to do, and you're not going to be seeing this until I've actually delivered the car back to the owner. But what we've got going on, just off the top of my head of things that I know we need to do, is A, put on all 4 fenders, the running boards, the doors, the whole assembly up here for the grille, the headlights, the tail lights. One of those tail lights is new, so hopefully that fabrication worked. This little air intake here for the cabin. There's still the front seat belts to fabricate and put in. That won't be a big deal. The only big deal is normally with a seat belt you have your restraint on this side that springs back. But in this car, since there's really no room between the seat and the door, we're going to put that in the middle between the 2 seats. And even so, that's going to be a tight squeeze. So I'm going to check with the owner and see exactly where he wants that placed. Now, as I said in the end of the last video, this is going to need a cut and buff come spring. There are a few little pieces of trash, dirt nibs in here just because we don't have the cleanest environment. We've tried. We have our drop cloths behind us. We tried our exhaust fans. That just introduced more stuff into the air because with the winds coming in from the northwest, where those doors are mostly facing, it just blew in more stuff around the seals and everything. So, note to self, next paint job, I'll get a booth. But I think we've done pretty well with what we've got. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to ceramic coat the wheels, get those tires all shined up, nice set of Coker Classics on there. We've got our new shocks on there, all 4 sides, corners, whatever you want to say. And a few little pieces of trim or tape here and there to peel off. And then wash the windows and pull the tape adhesive sticky stuff off of these window seals. Clean the windows and it will be good to go. The only thing I realized as I was painting the car is that I left a few of the pins for the doors in the cab. So I still have to paint 2 or 3 of those caps, those pin heads, and I have almost no paint left. So if I can maybe squeeze an ounce out, I should be able to make that work. But let me just start pulling things out. We have the order I want to do this in. Front I can kind of do anytime. I might work on that a little bit now. But I want to put the doors on first. Then I'm going to put the running boards on and set those loose in place so we can fit the front and rear fenders in place, get all of those things put together. I did have them all mocked up before we actually blew everything back apart for paint, but I didn't tighten down everything super tight because, well, it's all going to come apart again. Also, we have welting that goes in from here all up and around where the hood skirt meets the fender, and then also here on the back as well. So that's where we are, and that's where I am and that's where you are. So I know I've got a basement full of parts, the hood, the skirts, the rear fenders, the running boards are down there. The front fenders are still in the shop. They've been sitting there for a few weeks now. And behind the doors over here is a bunch of other parts. All my bag full of all the Ziploc bags of nuts and bolts and screws and hardware, bumper brackets, the front grille, some of the chrome trim, the antenna, lots of stuff. So I'm gonna go start dragging stuff out and start putting things back together. Not sure what order you're going to see it in, but we'll definitely clue you into all the important stuff along the way. Alrighty, we're gonna go ahead and start with one of our running boards. I'm gonna start over here on the passenger side, get these things on just so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'll go over to the driver's side. May or may not show you, we'll see. But for now, we have our running board, a couple of holes here, and I need to go and grab the running board, actually just over here, set it on here and make sure my holes lined up. They should be, because, well, I mocked it up down in the shop. Now let's see. This should be fun, because I don't like crawling around on the ground. Let's see. Yeah, and all my knee pads are in the shop. This is gonna be comfortable. No, not really. Anyways, let's see. If my brackets are gonna fit. Hopefully. Alright, I gotta look what I'm doing here. You fell out. That's not very nice. Well, how did I get you in there originally? There we go. All right. Let me find my creeper. Oh, no, I'm too high. This is just gonna be one of those frustrating things, I think. So I'm gonna figure this out and come back. Alrighty, we got our first running board just sitting on here. The bolts are through. 3 of the 4, fourth one will have to get in yet. But they are loose, so we can work this forward and back, in and out. And I've got a bag of shims over here too, to shiv up and level the whole thing out along the door frame. Now the only downside you might see is still right there, there's a little bit of a gap, and that is from the accident where the whole cab kind of got pushed in just a hair. Unfortunately, I don't have a frame machine, and the thought of putting a come along between the car and one of the steel girders or steel columns in the shop did not sound like a bright idea. Just brake force, the shear breakout force, the concrete, I don't know, and I don't want to test it. So, you know, if that's the biggest damage that this thing still goes home with, I guess that's what we're going to have to live with, really. If it went on a frame machine, take that running board off, go on a frame machine, tug it out, 3/8 of an inch, and you'll be fine. But it's just nothing I have access to here, and kind of figured that would be a problem from the beginning, but so far, otherwise, everything is looking good. So I want to find one of the fenders for the back, and we're going to figure out together how to put on welting. I know there's a proper way to do it. I've looked up a few videos on that. So we're going to figure that out and try and get that fit on as well. And we have our rear taillight fixture to put on too. But before I do that, I want to start dragging more parts out of the basement, blocking the path to our utility room, and I've got to replace the water filter and the furnace filter. So let me grab the hood assembly. We'll try and fit that on. It's just centerpiece and the 2 wings. Should fit right here, some bolts somewhere in a bag, and get that going. And I just, looking with the running board on, just looks a lot meaner like this. Just seems, gives it some more heft to it, I guess. So let me find a couple of towels to put over front and back of the car here for the hood to set on, and we'll go find that. Just sort of roughly set it in place. We can get it adjusted to its final home. Everything's got to go back just a couple inches. Got you. All right. There we go. And that's roughly where it goes. Little adjustment yet. I've got to go back in the trunk and dig through all my bags of screws and find the one that goes on there, but we'll go ahead and get that bolted in and then maybe start working on our grill assembly. Alrighty, new day for me. I got on my limitless call last night and I kind of lost track, and before I knew it, I had gotten the welting cut out and started to put on this fender. And I want to kind of recap. If you're not familiar with welting, it's used on older vehicles between seams, panels, fenders, whatnot. A, kind of helps a little protection between panels so you're not always vibrating metal on metal. B, it looks kind of sharp if it's the right color and it's done right. So we're going to try and do this right. I'm going to drop a link below to another channel that has done or provided some great information on how to do it, how to set it up. It's, in theory, easy, but it is kind of detail oriented. So what I've done is I have cut a piece roughly to length, and I'm starting to tape it on the vehicle roughly where it's going to go. Now let me flip it over here so you can see the top side. So this sits inside the quarter panel of the vehicle. So really, when it's assembled, all you really see is this cording sticking out from the two panels. Now you see similar cording like my Triumph Spitfire. It's got that on all the upholstery and the seats. It's more of just kind of a break between two pieces of fabric, two pieces of metal, whatever. So this is the same stuff roughly in the Spitfire. But we want to go ahead and mark our holes. I've got one here. I kind of test fit it last night before I realized, oh wait, I'm not filming this. So we're going to go ahead, and we already know it kind of fits, but the big thing is knowing where, like we've seen these buckles and ripples, we're going to want to cut a slice in there or a notch out with the scissors. So when we actually put everything on the car together, all of these lines is pretty much going to be a straight line. that you see on the car. We don't want to have a lot of wavy back and forth. So that's what I'm gonna do now is make some notches in here. I've got to find my scissors. That's probably still in the shop somewhere. But make some notches in there, groove, cut it out. So this will bend, especially down there at the end and this end here. We don't want to have this material pucker out, you know, like jeans that are too tight and you cinch them up and you get the big kind of foam thing, whatever you call it, big chunk of fabric. That's what we want to try and avoid. So I gotta find my scissors. I'll put some notches in here and we'll go set it on the car. And the goal is get it mounted loosely with a few of the bolts in place so that then we can find the front fender, get that on here. I've got to go pick up some more, couple of bolts that hold the fender on with the little hood skirt section here. So we can put on our side skirt and then this side will be complete. Back to the topic is I want to get this fender on, that fender on, and that's going to help us get this running board aligned the rest of the way. And we can tighten that hardware down and get this hardware and that hardware tightened down. And then this side of the car is put together. Pretty much repeat on the other side, hang the doors. Headlights need to go on the grill assembly. I need to get some more hardware for that too. Started fitting on the hood last night. And the hardware is the old crusty, grungy brown color. And a lot of them either had stripped threads or stripped heads, or heads were starting to be rounded off because they were stripped in there. So any of the exposed hardware you're gonna see, I'm gonna try and find replacements for. A few cents a nut and bolt. It's gonna look a whole lot better when it's put back together. So let me track my scissors down. We'll get this notched out. I'll show you that. Then I'll go ahead and fit it on the car. Garage the size of my first apartment, and there's still not enough room in here for me. Alrighty, I went back and watched my own video that I found. And we're actually notching out where the holes are and then V'ing out any of our larger bends. I don't have a lot of stiff bends except for down right at the end here. You can kind of see this curvature down here. Everything else is pretty well fluid. So I'm gonna take and just start setting this in place with a couple of bolts loosely. And then as we go, we can take off this tape and get this welting in place where it needs to go. So luckily I've already taken this fender on and off about 4,000 times, so I kind of know where it goes. But now everything is painted and I've got to be a little more careful about where I set things. And yes, my father reminded me to use tape when I'm putting it together. And did I listen? Yes. Did I remember until this moment? No. There we go, there's one in. Well, at least most of these cage nut holders on the passenger side are new from when I rebuilt this inner fender. So I may bypass showing you this on the driver's side just because I expect there may be some language that may not be suitable for all viewers used. All right. I've got one bracket back here from the frame that connects out here. I've got to reach under, attach that when it's all said and done. In a perfect world, you would have been able to unscrew it from the fender, but it was rusted in place, and when I spun it, the nut actually spun on the fender, and that damaged my primer and skim. So we're not going to twist that. We're just going to make a little bracket and attach it on where it goes. Now you can kind of see how this welting is going to fit on here. So you can see maybe on the driver's side I will try taping the welting to the curve here to the body line, because This is a lot more distinguished line or roll. You can't see my head. Nice, lucky for you. The body line here is much more distinguished and easier to tape up than this. The roll on the Fender is not as much as you would like to think. I was pretty much just going by the marks from all of the years of age and how and where this curved. So I'm going to get one more in. Should have a hole back here yet, somewhere. There we go, I think. Yes. Let me just move you up here right now. It's dark back here. There we go. So you can kind of see where this should go when it's all put together. Now, remind you, this is the side that was damaged, it was all pushed in, so this curvature is not perfect. I'll be the first one to admit that. But like I've said before in previous videos, probably the best way would have been to find a donor quarter, which you're not going to find. As is, this was the last metal Fender I found in the US. So that was last year. I don't know if new ones have come up since then, but this particular style this year was not the easiest to find. So now what we have to do is adjust this forward, tip it forward, so that this slides down a little more, and then when we shim up our running board, everything comes together. Now, I've got more to do before I get to that point. I want to go ahead and get that front fender on and do some more alignment and fitment. But for now, this is kind of how it's going to look. I do like these Coker Classics with the big thick white wall on there. The rims the owner picked out, they're really nice. I think they really make it look sharp, a little bit of bronzy color down here. And I think the color combo when it's all put together is going to look really good. Alrighty, here's what it kind of looks like with the fender loosely in place. We've got more adjustments to do, of course. The welting will get adjusted to fit in line with our body line here and match up. If you remember, this whole side was pushed way in, and I did the best we could to bring it back out, get this contour back to close to where it should be. It's not perfect. The best solution would have been to replace this quarter panel, but that's way more work than we were able to do. And availability, considering this was the only steel original metal I could find in the US when we ordered it last year. Yeah, everything else was fiberglass or reproduction or just in worse shape than the crunched one we had. So for right now, I've got to go run the boy to a doctor appointment. So we're going to put a pin in this and come back. But really, the next step for me is going to be, I want to get that front fender on and placed so then I can lift up the side of the car, take off the wheels, and work on getting this better, more aligned. I think there's 10 bolts that hold this on. So get those in and fit, and it's going to be a whole lot easier without this tire in the way. I will say I like these Coker Classics with the thick white wall and the rims the owner chose. They look really sharp. A little bit of bronze on here, I think, really gives the car its overall a good look. And when it's all put together, it'll look a lot better. So I will return very shortly for you. Alrighty, new day. Yep, I'm back here at the trunk. The front end is working on the grill, the hood, the headlights, the passenger side. I'm just kind of jumping around like that Scrat from Ice Age. Just getting little bits and parts done. And now I realize we've got to get the trunk seal on, get that cured before we put the trunk on itself, the deck lid. And we have the old stuff that came off. It's still soft, but it's got adhesive goo all over it and not really pretty. So the owner sent out another new spool of stuff, And we have that here. It's a little bit different design. You can see, well, let me just give it a yank. Where's the other end? Here's the new stuff. Don't focus on my face, camera. Come on. Focus. There we go. Here's the old stuff. Here's the new stuff. A little different pattern. But not a big deal. We are just going to lay it in here. There is I believe, a direction it goes. And for me, it makes sense to have this little lip over the edge of the trunk itself, the opening. It's the way that it fits in here best. And since there were absolutely no instructions in the box and there are no fitment guides that I found, this is what we're doing. Because I fit it the other way, and this just leaves a gap for water to run into and pool down in here. And this just seems to seal up pretty well in the grand scheme of things, because if we went this way, we've got big gaps here and then down the side. That just does not look right. So we're going to do this. 3M Black Automotive Weather Stripping Adhesive. Perfect for this. Not sponsored. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and tape off around our trunk where we do not want the stuff to end up if it happens to spill over or squish out a little bit. And read the directions, I believe. I'll read the directions, but I think it's a little bit on here, a little bit on the car, let it tack up, and then put it on there. But I'll double check that. And we'll just start laying this down, let it cure up, and then I can go back to working on other parts of the car. I have gone around some of the windows, get those cleaned up, and any of the tape residue on the rubber seals here, I just used some of my lacquer thinner on a paper towel. Right around here, it cleaned up all the goo and gum from the tape, and we're good to go. So really, yeah, let me just read these directions quick. Exceptional bond strengths. Firmly bonds gaskets and seals. Great. Directions for use. I'm getting old. Clean surface to be bonded. A clean, dry surface is key to a good bond. Apply a thin, uniform coat of adhesive to each surface, but do not close bond. Allow adhesive to dry until tacky. Assemble materials with sufficient pressure to ensure contact. Note: this adhesive contains solvents that outgas while curing. These solvents may soften some parts or coatings and cause failure of the paint or bond, coating, blah, blah, blah. Test compatibility in an inconspicuous space. Hiding here is pretty inconspicuous. So yeah, like I thought, put a little bead down here, a little bead on the material itself, and I need to go ahead and lay this out on a table or something so that I can work it in along the table here and make sure I can get it set in place without having it flop around on me and make a nasty mess out of the car. I actually just watched a tip on that from Sylvester's Customs. So I'm going to take that advice and grab a table and get this thing laid out. Okay, I've got my goo in here. I've got my goo over here on the gasket, and I'm just going to make sure I start with the right end and work my way around. Ah, here's my better side. Work my way around here and get the seal in place. So I'm going to move you a little bit, and we'll start getting it done. Now both sides of this have tacked up, so we will see if that's going to this is going to work for us, or if we're going to end up with the giant mess. I would like to not end up with the giant mess. It seems to be tacky. Kind of like my humor. Yeah, you can't see much now. Wait till I round the bend. with stuff in my way. I'm stuck. There we go. Try and keep the gasket off of the paint. That would be important. Ooh. Go find a little clamp for down here to hold this in place. Alright, I got a little clamp in there. Keep working my way around. Haven't made a huge mess yet. There's still time. Alrighty, I've got a little excess to trim off down here at the bottom. Then I'm going to take some of my tape and just kind of suck this around this lip so it seats tight around the body here, and we're going to let this cure. So I'm going to go find something else to work on. Maybe like moving the camera so it's not cutting off my head. Time has passed. Our trunk seal is on here and stuck down. I didn't get any goo where I didn't want any goo, so that's always a good thing. And next we have our trunk to actually put on. We've got something that I haven't shown you guys yet. We got all the chrome, or most of the chrome, redone from J&D Custom Plating up in St. Paul. Got that done earlier this year, and I think it looks pretty darn good. Is the recommended place in the cities here for actually show quality chrome. I guess you've got kind of driver quality or show quality, and wasn't terribly cheap, but I think the quality of the work, especially when we get it all put on the car, the bumpers look fantastic. All of our front hood or grill assembly, these parts are over here, everything just looks freaking sweet. So happy we got that done, happy we had that done. It wasn't initially in our plan, but when you're putting this much effort into redoing the rest of the car, why have chipped and rusty chrome? So these guys went ahead and did the whole pot metal thing and buffing and their whole, whatever the process is. They got it done and it looks fantastic. I'm just chasing the threads with the hardware, and we're going to go ahead and get started threading these in, and then I'll get some help from my lovely assistant to hang it on here, because this is probably something I'd scratch myself. And then we'll have this on there. In the meantime, when I've been waiting for this stuff to cure, I've gone ahead and loosely hung both of our rear fenders, front fenders, running boards, front headlights, a lot of stuff. So we'll do kind of a spin around here in a bit too. But let's try and get these things on. I'm going to loose fit them. Everything on here is just hanging loose. There's 2 or 3 bolts on everything. The front fenders have no bolts. They're just hanging by sheer gravity and those front arches. But let's just get these fit on here loosely, and then once everything is on the vehicle, then we can get everything lined up and tightened down. Okay, so I've got some of the old hardware spacers and stuff, but for all of our new bolts, I've got a whole bag of the 1/4 inch bolts. So I'm going to put on the nice new shiny hardware just because we can. We've got lock washers for everything, so I'm going to go ahead and get those set up. We have a lock washer on here. This sets through here. We have these little guys here, kind of standoffs. And then we can thread everything in. Now these threads are still a little gummed up. Try to go through and clean them out. So I want to do that before I assemble anything, because nothing like getting parts on and have to take them back off. Well, I think, hey, these are directional hinges and I actually got it on the right way, I think. Lucky me. Is there a left and right marker on here? I don't think so. No, this side says leaf, this side says butt. But when you line them up on here, everything appears to point in the correct direction. So I will take that as a unexpected win. So we have these two. And then there is an old, small, little, crusty, rusty straight that goes in here just for some added support. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other hinge chased and ready to put on, and find my assistant to get this thing hung, and we'll see how it looks. And again, I've cut off my head. Well, our trunk is on, and I've not tightened everything down yet. Everything is just loose on the car, just holding in place till I go through and do all the other fitments. But the only thing I really have tightened are the hardware for our support. You can see the light fixture is still hanging down here. I've actually got the outside glass fixture, needs to be glued back into the metal outer fixture. This has to, of course, be aligned. Like I said, everything is just sitting on here right now. So I think for the moment, let's just take a walk around the car and take a look at everything else. So again, you saw we've got our passenger fender on back here, running board. Front fender is on, just supported from the arch from the front here right now. I do have to jack everything up, take off the wheels, because there's about 8 or 9 bolts under each of the front fenders, and that's going to allow me to put on the bumper brackets. We've got welting to fit in here too. The grill is just sitting in here. I've got to do something with the transition from the nice paint to the old paint. We initially were not going to paint this or paint it black, but I think seeing where it cuts, I am probably going to get a little more paint mixed up, maybe a pint just for this area here, and call it good, because if we left this as is, it'd be a big ugly transition right here, and if we painted it black, it would look quite strange. So again, this is all just sitting in here for right now. Headlights, those are in. Those are not going to get hooked up yet because we're doing a conversion over to LEDs with blinkers in the front. This wire is not going to be sufficient, and it's pretty well chewed up inside too. Otherwise, driver's side is on. It looks pretty good. Remember, both of these front fenders had pretty severe gouges or dents in them. They're not perfect, but they're a whole lot better than they were. So I got a rear fender, more welting here. You can kind of see I'll have to do some finessing to get everything lined up. But all it'll take is some time. Again, those Coker Classics on there I think look really good. With those wheels, I think everything is just kind of finally coming together. Still have the doors to hang. We'll get to that when we're all done with everything else inside. We've got our vent, our front vent scoop. That's got to get hooked up yet. But everything else is on the car at least. And with all that being as it is, it's Saturday evening for me, and I think pretty soon I'm going to go inside, watch a movie with the wife, and we'll come back tomorrow and just keep getting everything lined up. That's going to be our big thing, is just fit and finish and getting everything aligned and moved around where it needs to be, especially with that welting. So I'm not going to record all that, but just know when we come back, we'll probably have everything done and dialed in except hanging those doors. Yeah, I'm kind of avoiding that. That doesn't sound fun. All right, well, it's a new day working on the 38 out here this morning, and I spent most of last night off camera working on the welting and getting this front passenger side fender put on, and lined up. And I think it looks pretty darn good. Welting up in the front is more of a challenge than the back just because we have all of these curves. Through here in that corner isn't perfect, but looking online I saw different options between rounding the corner or having two pieces, and I thought one piece was going to be better without seeing two cut ends here that will eventually get frayed and dirty and deteriorate. Sorry. Otherwise the back here is all trimmed up as well. We've got our running boards yet to bolt down, but I've got all the bolts through the brackets on the car. And we got our wheels all shined up, like I said, cleaned those up, ceramic coated them, and I took a couple of minutes and just sprayed the lug nuts or the bolts with some semi-gloss paint. They had a few chips on them from previous times on and off. It came with a few chips. I may have added another chip, so get those cleaned up. So what I'm going to do now is keep working around this other front side here, which is going to be the bigger, more challenging side. Like I said, the back here, the rounds, they'll be tedious, but not nearly as bad, just because we only have one big arch to do, and then this little piece right here. And like I said, other than hanging the doors, we are on the home stretch. So today for me, it's a Sunday morning, and probably do some family things today. Finish decorating our tree. Got a couple of cars to wash, horses to feed, but I'm gonna dedicate as much time as I can to this today and get it wrapped up so it's ready to go back to the customer real soon. But most importantly, at the end of today, this is gonna go back down to the shop to sleep so I can get my car back in the garage. So no fun taking your kid down to the bus in the morning when it's like 12 degrees outside. Yeah, I'm kind of a wimp, but I'm old. I don't like cold anymore. So anyways, back to the car. Well, good morning, everybody. Well, for you, I don't know what time it is. For me, it's 20 after 12 in the morning. Not lunchtime, in the morning. So well past my bedtime, but we have gotten the majority of the front end put together. The front fenders are on, the welting is in, all the hood parts are in. Grill, well, we started getting some of the chrome on down here, you can see, and this new chrome looks fantastic. We'll go out in the daylight once it's all put together. So you can see this chrome that's been restored, but it looks fantastic, especially against the color of the car. And it's starting to put all these little parts back on. It's starting to look really good. Now, I'd wanted to have everything on by now, but the fitment with the welting was a challenge. Getting the running boards to be lined up with the fenders, to be level and shimmed and tightened, and it took, well, you know what time it is. So now the front end is buttoned up with the exception of, like I said, some of the hardware here. I started putting on bumper parts and realized I'm just going to go out and buy new hardware to mount everything onto the car. The stuff that's on here is crusty. Half the bolts were rusted and I get about 3 turns on and I'm thinking, no, it's going to end poorly and it's going to snap off and then I'm really going to be hosed. So between that and the new bumper studs did not come with nuts. I'm going to go buy nice new nuts so we don't have rusty, crusty old nuts behind it. And that's the same thing for a lot of the little hardware for the grill here. Little screws, they don't do so well being 90 years old, 85 years old, and rusty. So front end is going to sit where it is for right now. Everything is at least attached. I've got a bolt in each side of the bumper. It needs 2 on each side. And new hardware here. We do have these little guys here. Let me grab one. And these little guys here, you can see, look at that chrome is just awesome. And these will bolt on here, just like that. There was one centerpiece here that we did not get, so I will just let the owner buy that on his own time. It's going to be a single nut that goes on there, and that ties it all together. No big deal. And yeah, welting is on. Looks pretty good. I mean, I'm by far an expert from installing welting, but what I think we did looks pretty good, and the stuff that was on there was disintegrated and missing. So this is definitely an improvement. And this piece here, I was mentioning I do need to get some paint mixed up to match the body, because even though it's similar to the old color, we talked about just painting it black, but seeing where it matches up with the hood itself, that's not going to work. So we'll get some paint mixed, match this, re-clear it, put it on, and be good to go. Again, it's got some little hardware that's rusty crusty. So for now, it's yeah, way past my bedtime. So I'm going to turn in, but the next focus is going to be getting the back fenders on. Hopefully it's going to be a lot less fiddling. They're a lot smaller. I mean, trying to get this hardware on is like trying to hug a beluga whale. It just doesn't work. You've got to be under here with the socket. You've got to be up here to fiddle with stuff. It didn't work. I actually took this off at least twice because I ran into one snapped off stud and one fine random thread stud here that the nut for it was just too far gone. So took that out, took out the broken stud, started over, and here we are. So short of those empty holes where the headlights should be, they're in the back. Yeah, I'm gonna move on to the backside after I get a good night's sleep, because I'm tired and I'm probably rambling. So we'll see you tomorrow or later today for me, whenever. Well, we are not in the garage, we're in front of the shop, which probably means one of, well, a couple of things. But in this case, it means we are done with the 38, and I've got a mess in the garage to clean up. So let's just bring it out here and take a look at it in the sun. Alrighty, well here is the 38. It is a nice sunny day. I'm glad we had some sunshine to bring it out today, and of course, it's been sitting in the shop for a few days, so it's a little dusty. But overall, I think it looks pretty darn good. We are sitting just before Christmas here, and we have no snow, and I'm out here in a light hoodie in 45-degree weather. I don't get that, but anyways, let's take a look around the car and see what she looks like up close. Alrighty, with my big old shadow there. This is pretty much, you know, the same place we started the video at last September, when I brought the car home. But this time I think it looks a little better. There's a box elder bug down there on the running board. That's wonderful. Overall, I think she looks pretty darn good. Look at that new chrome back here. That just looks fantastic out in the sun. Look at that. You can see the camera. Look at the reflection in there. It is mirror-like and fantastic. Look at the shop. Hey, there's that silly guy that works on cars. Anyways, not sure if it shows up in camera, but like I mentioned before, this is going to need a cut and buff in the springtime. And yep, after it leaves here, it is going to the upholstery shop for a new interior. But everything in here is put back together. We got our new taillights on, or the new taillight singular, if you remember. This was added on here. This did not come with a passenger side taillight, and we fabricated one on, and I think they look pretty good. We got all new rubber dealies here for our bumpers. Bumper brackets were all painted. Again, new chrome. More of these little protectors to pull off. The welting overall looks pretty good. If you remember, this was the side I've mentioned many times that had some significant damage. In front of the wheel well, and the whole fender was pretty well destroyed. Running boards were pretty much rotted out, non-existent, and both of the fenders had a big scrape in here. That's all been taken care of for the most part. It's not perfect, but I do believe this should meet what the owner is looking for. And that was a family-friendly car for him and the grandkids to go to the local car shows with. We did install the seat belts in the back. So that is done. That was a primary goal. Headlights he's going to wire up himself. Overall, yeah, I think this thing looks pretty darn good. Alrighty, so here we go. We are done, like I said, and we're getting ready to get it transported up to the owner. By the time you see this video, it will have been delivered, and hopefully he is happy with it. We stayed on budget. There were a few things, at least budget for my hours. There were a few things that we went a little over on, like getting the chrome all redone, I've mentioned. That was sort of a unplanned expense, but I think well worth it. Otherwise, everything was pretty well on budget for what we wanted to do. Again, probably the most expensive thing that we had planned on was this rear fender. That was, what, $600? But again, it was the only original metal piece I could find in the US. And I think it turned out pretty good. My estimate was pretty good, a little over on time, but I just donated that to the cause because it wasn't right for me to charge the owner for things like bugs in the paint that he can't control and I can't really control too well. So we're going to get this loaded up, sent up back to him, like I said, and that's going to wrap this video up. And actually, that's going to wrap up the videos for 2023. I've got a lot of work left to do cleaning up in the garage, so we can kick off 2024 with more projects. If you've enjoyed watching this series over the last year, please, if you haven't subscribed, hit that button. That helps me out, helps out the channel. My goal is to grow quite a bit in 2024, which means getting floor in the shop here, and that is in part helped by hitting that subscribe button, watching the videos, watching the ads, interacting, letting YouTube know we've got some decent content over here. You know, I'm not the best, but certainly far from the worst. So also 2024, we are going to have some merch coming out, not like this, but going to have some Dach Autos t-shirts. I've got hats like this. If you'd like a hat, drop me a line. And maybe some of the Dickies work shirts will come out with as well. But until then, have a great next couple of weeks here. Like I said, it's about Christmas time here for me, so I'm going to spend some time with the family, get organized, regroup, and come back in 2024 with the Challenger. I've got a ton of parts for the Challenger waiting to go, and other fun stuff too. I've got some pretty lofty goals for 2024. So that being said, thank you for watching this video in this series, and we'll see you real soon in the next video. Bye-bye. Off to clean up the garage. Well, hey, Shop Kitty, do you want to say hi? You want to say hi? Hi. Happy kitty.